So my name is Talha Ahmed. I'm partner consulting with Badr Auditing. We are in the market since 2006. We have been conducting a 4-episode series covering basic finance or emerging solutions, which we are facing right now. Today we have very interesting topic ESG. As we understand, a lot of environmental, social responsibilities and the standards are being implemented. Today, we have the honor to have Mr. Yasir Saeed Kermani with us to have a brief presentation on it. Over to you.
Thank you, Talha. First thing first, good day to all of you. I'll introduce myself. I'm a chartered accountant and a self-taught artist. Glimpses of my artwork you'll see in this presentation in the next few slides. I've spent 20 years with PwC in Pakistan, followed by 18 months in a FMCG company where I led their ESG reporting. We did we did ESG reporting on GRI, and that we also get it audited from SGS. In October 2022, I started my own venture, the Org Studio. We do business transformation and ESG consulting. Uh, okay, I'll I'll first start with the with this thematic slide. On the left of the slide, you'll see the writing on the wall. The writing on the wall, as we were discussing quite a while ago, that sustainability reporting. We've been hearing this term sustainability reporting for quite a long time, but now it is a writing on the wall. It has hit the road, and there are a couple of standards which will become mandatory in 2024. Then I'm talking about IFRS S1 and S2, and if we talk about ESRS, the European standard, it also has implementation timeline ranging from 2024 to 2027, depending on the type of industry and type of entity. On the right side, you will see it is written ESG connecting the dots. So the connecting the dots, I mean that I'll start discussing the ESG from basics till the sustainability reporting frameworks, and then the sustainability reporting approach. So I'll take a stepping stone approach from basics to the details. So what are we here for? Uh, Building horizon. This is merely a world we live in. Then I'll discuss basics of ESG, impact of industrial revolution. It is very pertinent vis-a-vis the climate action that is being discussed nowadays. And then understanding SDGs. The are very important in the sense that it is the grand framework for ESG reporting. So there are thousands of sustainability reporting standards, but the grand framework is the United Nations SDGs. Then some key terminologies. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with some buzzwords like greenhouse gases, carbon credits, and so on. Then the world in focus. Here we'll talk about what issues are facing, what issues are we facing in this world, and what is the world doing about those issues. And then evolution of sustainability reporting and approach to sustainability reporting. I'll try to keep it brief because there's a lot to cover, and we have some time constraint also. So I'll start with building horizon. Okay, so here I have an artwork. I tried my hands doodling, building horizon, the world we live in. Is it visible to all of you?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so just take a glimpse of it and try to capture as many things as you can so that in the following slides, we'll relate this picture with the matters we are going to discuss. So we are seeing a cargo ship, there's also an aeroplane, train, then we have a farmland, a farmer, some domestic animals, and so on, right? So just take a glimpse of it. You can also write it down if you want, and I'll pass it on. So I'll come to understanding ESG. ESG, as you all may be aware, is an acronym for environment, social, and governance. When we talk about environment, we are actually talking about renewable fuels, greenhouse gases, uh, fossil fuel, energy efficiency, recycling, and all that. Then, when we talk about social, we are actually talking about human issues, human rights issues, food security, health and safety. And if we talk about governance, we are basically talking about some ethical and moral standards to govern the living of the individuals, the companies, the organization, and the world as a whole. Quite lately, I've seen cybersecurity also falling into this arena governance. Okay. Now, this brings into a question which is often asked: what is the difference between CSR and ESG? You all must be aware that the CSR, we've all been doing CSR for quite a long time. So what is different in ESG? Well, the terms are easy to confuse, and to me they are somewhat similar. But ESG is a more organized, and it there are certain benchmarks and KPIs, so we can measure the results of ESG initiatives. Rather, previously, there are many companies used to do CSR reporting, and they would make the CSR report as part of their annual report. But they were precisely doing cherry picking, reporting on matters which were easy, or which would give a very happy feeling to the users. They were not talking about more sensitive topics such as fossil fuel or energy emissions, basic human rights violation, and stuff like that. So ESG is basically an advancement on CSR, and it is more measurable, and it also relates to investors. When we talk about CSR, uh, there is a historical background of CSR also. Although the term CSR, as you can see, was coined in 1953, but it has its roots in the late 1800s when philanthropy was combined with the business in the business model of the traders back then. Now I'll jump to impact of industrial revolution. Okay. Before I talk about industrial revolution, I want you to recall that picture, the world we live in. Try to figure out what was there in the picture. There were factories, there was cargo ships, there were trucks and lorries, and workers, and many things which we can associate with the industrial revolution. Why I'm talking about industrial revolution is because when we talk about climate emergency or climate action, the scientists nowadays take inference from the pre-industrial revolution era when there was not so much mechanization, there was way less pollution in the air, emissions were low, so the was you know temperature was maintained quite smoothly. Okay. Now take a look at this newspaper clipping. Global temperature exceeds 2 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial average on 17 November. By the way, this 17 November is of this which has just passed, 2023. It was the global temperature was at its highest peak. So when we talk about first industrial revolution, we are talking about an era which dates back to 1830 or so, although the precise start and end date is still debatable. So Britain was the leading commercial nation, followed by other European countries, United States, and Japan. The impact that industrial revolution brought was going from hand production methods to machines. There were new chemical manufacturing and iron production processes. The use of water power and steam power was increased. Development of machine tools and the rise of mechanized factory system. These are some of the impacts, business impacts that I've taken. And what was the social impact? Probably unprecedented rise in population and the rate of population growth because business was growing, so it impacted the rate of population. We link industrial revolution and the climate change. So I'll I'll take you to uh, this point that in that period the global temperature barely changed by more than 1 degree centigrade. But since the mid 1800s, with the industrial revolution that were happening predominantly in Europe and the United States, there began a severe increase in the release of carbon dioxide. Again, a greenhouse gas. We'll talk about this in the later slides. Now, this period marks the start of growing planetary instability in the world's climate. So, as I promised you, I'm connecting the dots. We started with ESG, we discussed the world we live in, the pre industrial era, and the effect it had on the climate. So, the nations were forced to think about it, to ponder on it, that what are they going to do about this climate emergency. So there was a Paris Agreement which was signed in 2016, which aims to limit the global warming to much below 2 degrees centigrade, round about 1.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels. So the recently concluded COP28, we've seen nations committing that we'll achieve net zero by 2030, by 2040, by 2050. It is basically related to this pre-industrial level uh, climate. Okay, so the world has to do something, and this brings us to SDGs, another dot. Sustainable Development Goals. Uh, it was in 2015 that the United Nations signatory countries reached a 2030 agenda for 17 sustainable development goals. We'll discuss them one by one in the coming slides, which are an urgent call for action by all countries, developed and developing. And we'll see that the impact it has on developed as well as developing countries. Okay, it is a brief history of sustainable development goals. I'll not discuss the details of this timeline, but I just wanted to let you know that there is a historic background of this sustainable development goals. They were first Millennium Development Goals in, I guess, 2000 or something like that. And it dates back to, I think, 1992 when the Earth Summit was convened. So now I'll jump into Sustainable Development Goals. Before I discuss Sustainable Development Goals, I'll again ask you to just bring in front of you that picture of mine, the world we live in, and compare it with the Sustainable Development Goals agenda. It's written no poverty over here and zero hunger. And if you can relate to that picture, you will find a beggar sitting over there. Then we are talking about good health and well-being. So you will see people over there. I'm talking about quality education. So you'll find a school. So this is all, it relates to our day-to-day operations, our day-to-day living. So these 17 sustainable development goals, they have their own objectives, backed by several targets. I guess 159 in all targets. I'm not discussing the targets. Uh, Majority of these goals relate to underdeveloped countries, as we'll see in the coming slides, but some of them also relate to developed world. For example, if we talk about affordable and clean energy, we talk about decent work and economic growth, or we talk about responsible consumption and production, which basically relates to food wastage. You'll be surprised to see the names of few of the leading countries of the world. So now some key terminologies. Before I discuss key terminologies, the picture on this slide, uh, it signifies a greenhouse. Now, what is a greenhouse and what are greenhouse gases? We'll discuss in the later slide, but you'll just keep this in mind that this is what a greenhouse is, and then it will become easy to relate to greenhouse gases. So you must have heard about these terminologies: carbon footprint, which is basically a measure of amount of carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere as a result of world activities. And then you must also have heard about carbon credits, which is basically a quota system for allowing the use of carbon dioxide. So uh, basically, it permits entities to make use of carbon dioxide responsibly. They can save their carbon credit, and they can later on sell those to those companies which falls short of it. Then the greenhouse gases are listed in Kyoto Protocol. Kyoto is basically a city in Japan which has they have categorized the greenhouse gases into seven different elements or seven different greenhouse gases. I'll discuss them. Carbon dioxide, we all know, it enters the atmosphere to burning fossil fuel. Then methane, it's basically it relates to agriculture, and then nitrous oxide, and right. So we are also seeing a gas which is being used for cooling and refrigeration, and we can see it is more harmful than carbon dioxide. Now we come to the greenhouse effect. So the greenhouse that you've just seen in the slide, in the earlier slide, greenhouse effect is a process that occurs when gases in Earth's atmosphere traps the sun's heat. So this makes the Earth much warmer than it would be without. So how does it work? Basically, a greenhouse is a building with glass walls, as you all can see, the glass shades. So now they are used to grow plants such as tomatoes and some tropical flowers. So greenhouse stay warm inside even during winter. And how is it possible? Because in the daytime, the sunlight shines into the greenhouse and warms the plants and air inside. And at night time, it is colder outside, but the greenhouse stays pretty warm inside. And that is because the glass walls of the greenhouse trap the sun's heat. Now we again go back to the greenhouse effect. It says greenhouse effect is a process that occurs when gases in Earth's atmosphere traps the sun's heat. So gases in Earth's atmosphere are playing the same role as the glass shed. Then the net zero, which basically refers to the balance between the amount of greenhouse gas that is produced and the amount that is removed from the atmosphere. Now, the world in focus, I'll touch upon what I've done in these slides is that I have relayed the sustainable development goals with the regions in the world and little bit of details. So you can just gauge the uh, the importance of the issues. So we have no poverty, and we see regions South Asia and sub-Saharan African countries. Basically, it is more relatable to poor countries. Zero hunger. Again, Africa, you'll find good health and well-being. Well, it is a problem of many of the countries. but predominantly African countries. Quality education, gender equality, again African countries. Clean water and sanitation, again African countries. Affordable and clean energy. Surprisingly, you will find Bangladesh over here. Uh, Decent work and economic growth, again more of African countries. Then I'll jump into responsible consumption and production. And the region you'll see China, India, and US. This basically relates to amount of food waste, and that is why it is called responsible consumption and production, no wastage. Then climate action, you'll see US, China, and Russia, probably because of the large manufacturing infrastructure in these countries. Life below water, we are talking about marine life. So you'll find India, Malaysia, China. Then life on land is basically it relates to biodiversity, deforestation, etc. Peace, justice, and strong institution. Well, this issue is nowadays it relates to majority of the nation. There are peace and justice issues. Okay. We've discussed the problems. Now, I would shift your focus to what the world is doing about these issues. I've not put each and every detail because it is not practicable to do so, and it is also not relevant for our discussion today. I just want you to grasp the bigger picture when we talk about sustainability reporting, and that's the reason I am talking about SDGs. So in the US, they are very serious on climate finance to over 11 billion dollars a year, and they are working with other countries also. Europe is pursuing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals. They've recently, the European Union has adopted another set of standards, ESRS, which are becoming effective 2024 to 2027, as I discussed in the beginning of this presentation. Then you will find GCC countries, KSA, UAE, Oman, Qatar. They are also doing their bit for net zero. Qatar is, I guess, leading because they have their own ESG guidelines. In Asia, I've picked Pakistan, which has set a rather ambitious target for reducing of the greenhouse gases, reduction of fossil fuel, and shifting to electrical vehicles and 60% renewable energy. Quite a ambitious target, but fingers crossed. Let's see what happens. Now this brings into sustainability reporting, the evolution of sustainability reporting. I guess you're all here with me. Uh, Sustainability reporting evolution. So, what is sustainability reporting? Sustainability reporting is basically understanding that the company has its relationship with its environment and not just its shareholders. So when we talk about environment, we are talking about employees, customers, suppliers, local communities, civil society, and everything. So as there was a history of CSR, there is also a history of sustainability reporting. Well, this topic has magnified over the last so many years, but it existed in a discrete way, I must say, in 1980s also. And if we go back to 1990 or like that, we'll found annual report of many companies containing corporate social reporting. So it was all about sustainability reporting. But as I said, it was more of a cherry picking exercise. That is, you picked those topics that were quite easy to report or that have a very good impression of your company on the users of those annual report. But the more sensitive topics were discussed, or rather, I guess the companies or the world was not fully aware of those sensitive topics. So There has been a growing interest in communication relating to extra financial aspects of organization, and probably due to global awareness of ecological crisis like climate action and common interest in sustainable development. So the evolution of sustainability reporting took the form of, it started with voluntary basis, as I just said. Then there was a copy effect, companies copying one another to on the sustainability reporting ideas, sustainability reporting frameworks, sustainability reporting matters. Again, there was no framework. Then there came framework and guidances, guidelines, and regulations. So what was the objective of those framework? What is the objective of those guidelines and framework? Excuse me. The objectives of those guidelines are to to provide a concrete methodology to make published data understandable, credible, and comparable for the users. So now you cannot cherry pick on the topics. You There are a couple of standards which have their own guidelines on choosing your material topics. When I say material topics, assume that I'm talking about sustainable development goals. So there are methodologies. For example, if I talk about GRI, it has a very comprehensive methodology on selecting the material topics. You cannot pick and choose. The standard says that in the first step, you have to choose, you have to decide what are sustainability related impacts of your organization. Those becomes your material topic. Now it is something else that either you don't have the data to report on those topics, or you don't have resources to report on those topics, or it will take a massive amount of investment on reporting on those topics. You can write these as a reason for not reporting on those topics, but it is not a valid reason to ignore those topics right away. So majority of the reporting guidelines we'll see in the latest in the next slide. These are published by private non-governmental organizations. Okay, so now there are hundreds or thousands of standards on sustainability reporting. I have picked uh, the few popular standards, and I'll just make a brief comparison of these. So you are seeing GRI. It is a European standard and a quite comprehensive standard. It covers 40 more than 40 material topics. You will find a standard on each of the material topic. For example, if I talk about diversity inclusion, you will find a separate standard for it. If I talk about water, there's a separate standard. If I talk about waste, energy, there are separate standard to address these matters. So and then they also have some industry specific standards. Those do not cover each and every industry, but I guess there are 11 or 12 such standards. Then I compare it GRI with SASP, which is basically an American standard. It is also a popular standard, and lately it has been adopted by IFRSS. So now the next few standards of SASB will be published from the platform of IFRS. IFRS has already published two standards. S1 relates to general disclosure requirements for sustainability reporting, and S2 is basically related to uh, climate action. So SASB is more of industry specific standard. They have covered, I guess, 77 industries. You will find sustainability reporting requirements for industries ranging from manufacturing to e-commerce to financial to oil and gas and so on. Then you can see TCFT. These are topics specific standard. TCFT is more of it is more of a standard linked to climate action, which is also now adopted by IFRS. And CDP is again a material is again a topic specific standard. It discusses basically carbon emissions, Then in the last part, you see ESRS. They have just been released in 6 months back. ESRS, European Financial Reporting Standard, just like GRI. The ESRS covers standards for each of the elements of ESG, that is environment, social, and governance. There are also some industry-specific standards coming up. So, what is the objective of having a financial reporting standard on sustainability? So, as you can see in previous slide, that the sustainability reporting, the evolution of sustainability reporting was from voluntary basis to a set of frameworks and guidance, but this relates to sustainability reporting. Now we're talking about financial reporting standard on sustainability reporting. For example, IFRS S1 and S2. So basically, you can just imagine if a company is publishing their corporate social report as a part of their annual report, which also contains annual financial statements. So, as a user of those annual report, you would like to see a harmony among the matters in the financial statements or annual accounts and the sustainability reporting. If in the sustainability reporting an entity is disclosing that we may face penalties or penal actions or fine or something like that in the years to come because of our carbon emission or water or any of the environmental issue. So that has to be covered in the annual report. So there, you see, there has to be a harmony. The basic purpose of having a financial reporting standard is this, and then it also endeavors to bring in consistency in the sustainability reporting topics itself. And then, if I talk about the climate related risk and opportunities that are covered in IFRS S2, uh, it talks about the climate related risk and opportunities that could reasonably be expected to affect the entity's cash flow, its access to finance or cost of capital. That should also be reflected in the annual financial statements. And that is the reason that IFRS has now taken over the SASB standards, and in the years to come, we'll see more and more of sustainability reporting standards from the platform of IFRS. And of course, the resulting adjustments, if any, because of the ESG issues or sustainability reporting issues, these have to be covered in the annual accounts. So basic purpose you can imagine as to have a harmony between financial statements and the sustainability reporting. So this takes us to the last part of this presentation, which is sustainability reporting approach. Uh, this is I have tried to uh, make it in a systemized manner. This is not I've not copied it from anywhere. This is how I did it when I was doing ESG reporting. When we talk about sustainability reporting, first thing first, governance. We talk about governance. You must identify what is or who are the individuals or body who is responsible for the oversight of sustainability reporting issues, and what are their terms of reference. Then there has to be a sustainability reporting team comprising of cross-functional resources, for example, from finance, from supply chain, from HR, from health, safety, environment, and so on, and then and marketing, and then you decide on material topics. When we talk about material topics, we are talking about the sustainability reporting impacts that we are creating as because of the activities that the organization deals in. Then you perform your risk assessment. Either all of those material topics or sustainability reporting topics relates to you, or there has to be a likelihood of those areas. So you have to assess the severity and likelihood both of the risk and opportunities. And mind you, we are talking about risks as well as opportunities, because there can also be opportunities to gain vis-a-vis sustainability reporting. And then when you have decided that these are your material topics, you can now just set out your KPIs, your goals, targets that you are going to achieve, your commitments. Then obviously you can model your strategy in your value chain, upstream, downstream, both. Then comes the million-dollar question: which framework you are going to adopt? Either it is SASB, GRI, IFRS, or any other. I've just discussed a few of them. Then, when you've done with the framework, it is time to get ready for ESG reporting. So here comes the readiness. So you start gathering the data. You see if you need a software for reporting, or you are going to manage it through manual Excel spreadsheets. You prepare data. You ask data, and there are certain guidelines by IFC, PRI. You can also refer to them. Then comes the final part, the reporting. Here you are going to you see that whether your report is more of a qualitative or a quantitative approach, diagrams, chart, and consistency with the financial statement, and also actual versus target. So you can explain that these were our targets, and we were able to achieve those targets, or what were the handicaps, etc., etc. Then assurance, again, sustainability reporting is still pretty much a voluntary thing. So when sustainability reporting itself is a voluntary topic, so you're not bound to get an external assurance. But I guess in the years to come, we'll see this happening. And then ESG ranking. If you want to see the ESG ranking of quoted companies, you can see some of the stock exchanges. You can also apply for your ESG ranking. So this brings into the end of this presentation. I think I was 5 or 10 minutes. I took more, but I tried to give you a fair idea of ESG, especially most of you would be from finance background. So what is it all about? And the bigger picture, that is the SDGs, and the couple of other standards and stuff like that.